every time you grow, every time you push yourself to the next level, every time your kids compel you to push yourself to the next level, the self-doubt will show up. It's part of the process. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey everybody, how are you? It's so good to be talking with you again. I've been preparing for today's episode for a while, and then today during office hours, which is the call that I have multiple times every week with my group where we implement and celebrate and problem solve all the situations through the lens of Connect Method Parenting, this topic came up again, and I saw it as the last nudge to go ahead and record this episode and to share my thoughts with all of you about self-doubt. I feel like I've been talking about it so much lately. It's coming up all of the time. It came up today with the parents I was working with. It's come up with me. And some of you have asked me about peace, the work I do with my clients. This is a framework where we help untangle those neural pathways, those thoughts, those beliefs that are not serving us anymore. And I just want to offer here that I sit down and I really record my thoughts and I have a look at them and I do the peace process on them. I see what I'm creating. I also get my own coaching. Yes, I have people that I love and that I trust, that I regularly reach out to, that I get help and insight and coaching from. In a lot of my classes, I offer up my own situations and my own struggles. You hear it here on the podcast too, that I've worked through around all of the things. Self-doubt is one of them. And you've heard me share a lot of situations here on the podcast that I've been working through, especially as we've been traveling so much lately. A lot of things have come up for my nervous system, which have surprised me. I didn't realize that these things were causing me to have fear or worry and anxiety. So I'm really involved in my own mind, and I do manage it very, very carefully. Whenever I'm in severe emotional turmoil, which happens, I sit down and I really do this peace work on myself. At this point, 15 plus years into doing this work, it's really intolerable for me to just let my mind be running rampant without supervision. If I do, it creates so many problems within my body and within my life and with the results that I'm getting. So one of the things that I am looking at when it comes up is self-doubt. We're going to talk about the concept of self-doubt. I wanted to review what I just did with the work that I do with myself, the work that I help parents go through when they're trying to untangle and separate themselves from some of these practiced patterns and beliefs that have kept them stuck and small and not showing up the way they want to. People often say something that I find really interesting. They'll say, "Oh, you don't seem to have any self-doubt. You seem so confident." And the truth is I am confident. But one of the reasons I'm able to generate that confidence is because I'm actively working through my self-doubt. That doesn't mean that I never have self-doubt. And I think that there's this common misconception that once someone is successful, that they're completely free of insecurity and self-doubt. We look at those famous successful people out there and assume that because they're making a lot of money or doing so well in life, that they must be immune to the kind of worry, doubt, and frustration that we're experiencing. That's not my experience. That's not what I believe is true. I've spent a lot of time studying self-doubt, both in myself and when I'm working with parents. And one thing I've come to believe is that every time you grow, every time you push yourself to the next level, every time your kids compel you to push yourself to the next level because of the things they're going through or the struggles that they're having that are showing up in your house and in your world, the self-doubt will show up. It's part of the process. Your child starts having an attitude. They stop wanting to do their chores, whatever it is. Stop wanting to go to sleep, all of the things. That's your next level of growth. That's the next opportunity for you to push yourself and to become more loving, more patient, more kind. Chances are when those things happen, self-doubt is going to show up. And I think that's why so many people avoid growth, is they don't want to put themselves out there because they don't want to deal with the discomfort that comes with it, with the self-doubt that arises to every new challenge, so they hide. I think that's why parenting sometimes is, it's this thing that we want to just not have to fully dive into. We don't want to really look at it. We just want the problems to go away. We want the behavior to go away. And I believe it's because it's so uncomfortable to have to confront ourselves and say, what might I be doing that's contributing to this? Or how could I show up in a way that would make things better? Give my child, whose brain's still developing, the best opportunity for growth. I love the gardener analogy, so you could use that and say, what can I do as the gardener of my family, of my children, to create an environment where they can thrive? What do I need to change? What do I need to iterate on? What do I need to improve? Where am I falling short? That's the growth that's available to us with parenting. And I think the discomfort that comes with that growth often gets us to not fully lean in, to fail ahead of time, to play small, to not create what we want to create, to hide in a way. And when I say they, I also mean me. I see this in me too. My tendency to want to keep things status quo, to want to go path of least resistance, to not want to experience discomfort. There have been plenty of times in my life when I have tried to take the easy way out, to avoid facing my own self-doubt and frustration, because I just don't want to deal with it. I didn't want to set that big goal, so big that it forced me to confront myself all over again. What I've realized is that every escape route I've taken, every time I've tried to avoid the discomfort, whether it be with parenting, with my life, with my health, because how we do anything is how we do everything. Anytime I've tried to avoid discomfort, it has led to just a different version of misery. It never actually took me where I wanted to go. There's this deep pull inside of all of us for growth, for progress, this desire to live the life that we feel that we were meant to live. And I think a lot of us believe that if we were truly on the right path, if we were following our purpose and honoring what we really want, it should feel amazing. Like coasting downhill on a bike with the wind in your face. But I'm here to tell you, I really do feel like I'm living the life that I want to live. A beautiful, amazing life that I'm creating on purpose most of the time. I'm creating it on purpose. I mean, I'm human too, so sometimes I do go into default, but I feel like for the most part, I'm creating this magnificent life, and it doesn't always feel like coasting downhill on a bike with the wind in my face. Most of the time, it feels like a whole lot of work in the most beautiful way possible. Looking at my self-doubt, looking at the negativity, looking at the resistance that's coming up. And that's not a bad thing. Somewhere along the way, we picked up the idea that life is supposed to be easy. That if something is meant for us, it should be effortless. But I don't think we're entitled to an easy life. I think we're entitled to the strength to overcome our obstacles and grow into the best version of ourselves. And this shows up everywhere, including parenting. We want connection with our kids, but sometimes it feels hard. We want to stay calm, but our brain freaks out when our toddler is melting down in the middle of the grocery store, or when our teenager is rolling their eyes at us for the 10th time that day. And we might think, if I were a good parent, this would look different. This would be easier. I would be getting a different result. But no, that struggle, that resistance, our child having the ability to choose how they want to show up in the world, us having the ability to choose the way we want to show up in the world, and the struggle and the resistance and the tug of war and all of the things that come with having humans live in the same house, that's part of the deal. It's the same with goal setting. If you don't set goals for yourself, ask yourself why. Is it because doing so brings up self-doubt, brings up fear, brings up frustration? And if those emotions come up, can you see them as a natural part of the process rather than a sign that something is wrong? This is huge. When we begin to welcome all the emotions in, when we begin to see our failures as growth opportunities, when we see that discomfort is the currency to success instead of a sign that something's wrong, things change for us. Because when we challenge ourselves, whether it's in parenting, personal growth, in our career, or anything else, having it feel hard is okay. Getting a stronger body, it takes effort. It can be the most enjoyable effort, but it takes effort. That's how we know we're evolving. It's supposed to feel a little like self-doubt. And from there, you can do the work to become the person that you really want to do because of the self-doubt. The self-doubt becomes a catalyst. And on top of that, it's really important to remember that self-doubt is a choice. So self-doubt might come up, but do I indulge in it or do I question it? I love the phrase, but what if it works out? I've been using it all of the time lately. What if it works out? And is that really true? I love those two phrases. If my brain starts to say something, you shouldn't be hard. The kid should be behaving different. You shouldn't be feeling so frustrated. It just shouldn't feel so challenging. I say, is that true? If my brain says this isn't going to work out, you're not going to manage this, I say, but what if it does work out? What if it does work out is so much better than I bet it's not going to work out or it's not going to work out, period, the end. If I'm already so good at imagining that it's not going to work out, why not turn that skill around and allow my imagination to play around with the idea that it could work out? Now, when we're in the middle of self-doubt, it feels incredibly real, don't get me wrong. I understand that. It's like something that's washing over you. But the truth is, it's something that's being created in our mind. And we've probably done it so many times that it's become subconscious. But once we bring it to our conscious awareness and we see the self-doubt, which is what happened today in office hours, we were talking about it and bringing it to the conscious awareness and realizing that the reason the brain had been proving that she didn't know what she was doing, that things weren't going to work out, is because the question was, how is it true that I'm messing up? How is it true that I don't have confidence? The brain will answer whatever question you present to it. So why not present the question, is it true? But what if it does work out? How is it true that I do have confidence? How is it true that I am doing well, that I have had wins? When you set a big goal, when you decide you're going to change from feeling a lack of confidence, a lack of capacity, self-doubt, you've been spinning, maybe let's say in self-doubt, you've been spinning and not knowing if you can do the things you want to do, whether it's with your parenting, showing up patient, creating the bedtime you want, the relationship with your teenager, and you've been doubting yourself and you start to set a new goal, a new direction to have confidence, to believe it's possible. Suddenly, your brain goes into overdrive. It might present things to you such as, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? You're not capable of this. Your brain is wired for efficiency, and sometimes that efficiency means clinging to old patterns, even if those patterns aren't serving you anymore. So the moment you start pushing yourself, whether it's setting a new goal, trying a different approach with your kids, wanting to show up differently in your life, eating a different type of food, exercising in a new way, handling those temper tantrums with patience, calmness, whatever it is, you start pushing yourself into a new possibility, your brain is going to fight back by saying things like, it won't work, it's too hard, you're not cut out for this. And I just want you to notice that. That's the brain's automatic response to growth. It wants to keep you the same. There's safety and familiarity, path of least resistance. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It doesn't mean you're not capable. Self-doubt is just a set of thoughts that don't support us or our potential. And when I talk about potential, I don't mean what you can do right now. I mean what you have inside of you waiting to be brought to the surface. The only thing that limits our growth is our willingness to push past our own doubtful thinking. This is true in every part of our life, but especially in parenting. Maybe you're trying a new approach. You learned something on this podcast or you're inside of my group, league, and you've learned about a new way to respond to your child's meltdown with connection and how not giving them a punitive consequence is going to create better results for you and your child. It's going to allow them to have more emotional maturity come online. But your brain is saying, are you sure? This isn't going to work. I don't think this is going to work. You're not patient enough for this. You're messing up. Your child needs to have you put them in timeout, whatever it is. It's going to resist. But what if you turned it around and you said, but what if it is going to work out? What if you recognize that this pushback is just a reflex, not the truth? I've thought a lot about this and I don't want to gloss over it. Really hear this. Your ability to grow as a person, as a parent, is directly tied to your ability to move beyond your own self-doubt. If you want to grow into the next best version of yourself, whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's a more connected relationship with your kids, more patience, more financial stability, a healthier body, then the real question is, are you willing to face your self-doubts and move through them? Most people, and I truly believe this, either set goals and let self-doubt stop them, or they don't even bother to set goals because they assume they'll fail before they even start. They get to that first moment of resistance, that first obstacle, and instead of pushing through, they turn around and go the other way. So I want you to ask yourself, what are you capable of? And how do you even know the answer to that? I'd argue that it's not about what you can do right now. It's about what you're willing to keep trying until you develop the capacity to do it. I was coaching a mom recently who was feeling frustrated because nothing seemed to be working with her child's behavior. She told me, I've tried everything and nothing helps. And when I dug a little deeper, I found out she had tried 2 strategies. And to be fair, those strategies took a lot of effort. It was a huge win. I was so proud of her. She had to push through a ton of self-doubt to do those things and to stay patient and to respond differently than she normally would. But when those 2 attempts didn't change her child's behavior immediately, the way she had hoped it would, she let doubt take over and convinced herself that nothing was going to work. So I asked her, would you be willing to try 100 things before deciding that you're not capable? Because that's really the difference. Growth is just the process of trying something again and again until you develop the capacity to do it. I want you to think about how kids learn to walk. If they gave up after 2 failed attempts, they'd never get off the floor. But as adults, we start thinking, if I try something once or twice and it doesn't work, then forget about it. It wasn't meant to be, or I don't have the capacity to do that. This shows up in parenting all the time. Maybe you're trying to respond to tantrums with patience instead of giving a timeout, but after a few attempts, you think, this isn't working. My child's still melting down. Or maybe you try reconnecting with your teenager, but when they barely acknowledge you, you assume, well, they don't even want to be in a relationship with me. That's self-doubt. And just like with any other goal, the key isn't to get it perfect on the first try. The key is to keep going, to try, adjust, and build your capacity until what once felt impossible becomes second nature. We often think we're doubting the other person, life, society, the way things are, but we're really doubting ourselves. We're doubting our ability to figure things out, to handle challenges, to become the parent we want to be. I had another parent say to me once, connective parenting isn't effective for me. But is that actually true? Because plenty of parents are using it really successfully. What's more likely is that this parent is doubting their ability to stick with it, to shift their own patterns, their own nervous system, to respond differently to the scenarios, to trust that connection over time will lead to change. This is where self-doubt is so sneaky, and it comes in and it makes us believe that the problem is outside of us when in reality, we're doubting ourselves. So think about a parenting goal you have. Maybe it's staying calm when your child melts down, building a stronger relationship with your teenager, or getting your kids to listen better. What are the obstacles standing between you and that goal? Is it old habits, lack of time, feeling overwhelmed? What is your opinion of those obstacles? If you believe, I'll never be able to stay calm when my toddler's screaming, that thought fuels your self-doubt. But if you instead say, yeah, this is going to be challenging. Yeah, I'm going to struggle, but I can work through this. I can learn. I can grow. That is going to fuel the determination. And in the end, if you believe I'll never be able to stay calm when my toddler is screaming, that's going to fuel self-doubt. But if instead you say, yeah, this is going to be a challenge. I'm probably going to struggle a little bit, but I can work through it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. That fuels determination. And in the end, you always have a choice. You can commit to your self-doubt, or you can commit to your goal. Which one? Which one are we going to choose, you all? Which one? Self-doubt is such a knee-jerk reaction for most of us, especially in parenting. I was thinking about it today, how as humans, we haven't always had the luxury of overthinking. Back in the day, if danger was coming, there was no time to sit around wondering, can I handle this? Am I strong enough? You either took action or you didn't. And if you didn't, well, that was the end of the road. But now we have so many options, so many escape routes. And one of those escape routes is self-doubt. I was coaching someone recently and I asked her, what if you removed all of your escape routes? What if you didn't give yourself the option to spiral into self-doubt every time things felt hard? What if instead of questioning, am I messing up with the kids? Am I even doing this right? You just decided I'm all in. I'm willing to keep going. I know self-doubt is going to come along with me for the ride, but I'm not going to indulge in it. I'm not going to entertain it. I'm not going to let it take over. I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to hear it, but I'm not going to let it be in charge. I'm not going to let it take the steering wheel and start driving. I'm going to thank it for its beautiful help as I've been on my journey. There was probably a time where it felt important to have it. And I'm going to say, thank you so much, self-doubt, for being here. Thank you for trying to make me safe. I don't need you to make me safe anymore. I'm safe. Can you go to the back of the bus? That's my analogy of all these parts of us. And I get to decide who gets to come near the front and occasionally take the steering wheel and drive. And I don't want self-doubt there. So here's a question to sit with. What do you think about yourself when you think about yourself? When you think about the challenges of parenting, the meltdowns, the sibling fights, the moments when you feel like you have no idea what you're doing, do you believe you're capable of figuring it out? Because that belief, that's everything. So here are some questions to consider. Do you think about yourself in a confident, committed, and determined way? Or do you find yourself slipping into self-doubt? How often do you engage in self-doubt without even realizing it? Do you remind yourself that confidence is a choice, just like self-doubt is a choice? Think about that for a minute. When you choose confidence, when you choose to believe in yourself, when you choose to move forward, even when fear is present, you create momentum. Here's the truth. Growth, most of the time, is going to bring up doubts. I believe it's part of the process. The question is, are you willing to use confidence to move through those doubts and through that discomfort? Or are you going to let that self-doubt pull you into inaction? Dreams expose our doubts. It's one of the reasons they're so powerful. I see this all of the time in the world. People stop dreaming about the kind of connection they want with their kids because they don't want to face the fear that it might not work, that they might not know how to create it. They might fail. But here's the thing. When you expose those doubts, you gain power to change them. Once you see them for what they are, just thoughts about yourself, you can rewrite them. There isn't something wrong with you because you have self-doubt. You aren't broken. It doesn't mean you're not capable. The self-doubt is helping you see what's preventing you from having your most loving, kind, connective parts come to the surface. Self-doubt is just a thought. And the way you build confidence is by choosing to believe thoughts that strengthen your opinion of yourself instead of weaken it. So here's something I want you to try. First, recognize your self-doubt thoughts. This can be tricky because self-doubt often disguises itself as being realistic. So a simple way to notice is to think about something you really want, a deeper relationship with your teenager, a calmer, more peaceful home, finally feeling like you know what you're doing as a parent. Now, as soon as you start imagining that, I want you to watch what happens. Your brain's likely going to jump in with, that won't work. I've already tried that. I don't know how. The kids won't respond well. I'll probably mess up. That's self-doubt showing up. Write it all down, every single thought. Because when you see them on paper, it becomes so clear that they're just thoughts. They're not the truth, they're thoughts. Then ask yourself, when I believe those thoughts, how do I feel? And when I feel that way, what do I do? If your thoughts are saying, I can't create more connection with my kids, it's too hard. I don't know where to start. How does that make you feel? Discouraged, hopeless, stuck. And what do you do when you feel that way? Probably nothing. Or maybe you withdraw even more, which just confirms the doubt. But what if you didn't let those thoughts be in charge? What if you chose to believe something different? Because self-doubt isn't something you wait to feel, it's something you choose to feel. Once I've recognized the pattern of self-doubt, that's when I gain control. That is my moment of power. And at that point, I can choose, do I want to keep holding on to these thoughts, or is it time to change them? The first step is recognizing that they're just thoughts, that I can decide if I want to keep thinking, keep indulging, or if I want to start observing and stop believing. Let's pause here. As a parent, do you ever find yourself thinking that you're not going to be successful, that you're not going to be able to create let's say, the relationship you want with your child, especially those teenagers. They become more independent, the dynamics change, and sometimes we start wondering, am I going to be able to relate to this child? Are we going to be able to have this strong relationship I've always wanted? But here's the thing, you're choosing to believe that. I know, it doesn't feel like a choice. I get that. I have teenagers right now. I understand what the brain wants to offer us when things don't go the way we think it should go. It feels like the truth. It's been reinforced by past experiences. But is this a thought I want to keep believing? Do I want to believe that my children don't want to have a good relationship with me, or don't want to listen to me, or will always have an attitude? Do I want to believe I'm incapable of handling tough parenting moments? It is a choice, and you get to decide if you want to attach to those beliefs. So don't skip this step. Don't assume, I don't want to believe that. You have to actively decide that you do not want to believe that. Then ask yourself, what do you want your opinion of yourself as a parent to be? What do you want to believe about yourself? What do you want to think when you envision your relationship with your child? What will you focus on? What thoughts will you choose to fuel your actions? Because every obstacle, every tough moment you face as a parent is an opportunity to either reinforce the self-doubt or push you to evolve beyond it. Being mindful of your thoughts, making intentional decisions about what you want to believe requires effort. And let's be honest, we tend to resist effort. For some reason, we feel like things should just be easy, but growth is rarely easy. It's about making those small, conscious choices that lead to lasting change. We often find ourselves wishing for someone to come alongside and make everything easier for us, whether it's someone who will solve our problems or make things just work. We want the fast, easy solution, which is why on the surface, punitive consequences are something so many of us have fallen into. They work fast and they appear to be easy because we don't understand the fallout of them. It's tempting to imagine that things should just fall into place without the struggle, that we deserve a smoother path. But those easy solutions don't make us stronger, they don't make us better, and they don't help us grow. The real growth as parents and as individuals comes from change, and change requires effort. We can't evolve into the best version of ourselves by sitting back and waiting for all of our hopes and dreams to be delivered to us on a silver platter. It's not going to happen on its own. And when we kick back and we hope that things will just get better, we end up replaying patterns that don't serve us, that don't serve our family, that don't serve our parenting. So are we willing to make the effort to pay attention to our habits and our thoughts so that we can change? Noticing why we are falling into those old ways of thinking, especially when things are really tough. And when you think about yourself as a parent, what do you want your opinion of yourself to be? Do you want to grow into the next best version of yourself as a parent? Do you want to keep evolving even when it gets so hard? When we're younger, we're always thinking about the next big thing. I can't wait to move out. I can't wait to buy a car. I can't wait to make a contribution in the world. I can't wait to get the next promotion. I can't wait to get married and have children and buy a house and all of the things. Travel the world. My kids are talking about these all the time, and I love it. They know there's challenges ahead. They're willing to embrace them, but they understand that this is how they grow. But for some reason, as we get older, it's easier to focus on what we've already done versus where we're going and what we want to achieve. We become more defined by who we are versus who we can become, especially if we've gotten stuck in self-doubt. As parents, it's important to regenerate that forward-thinking mindset. We need to ask ourselves, are we going to create a future filled with self-doubt, or will we create a future based on commitment and determination? Think about the things you love in your life right now. How did you get them? Was it a mindset of self-doubt, or was it your commitment and determination and belief in yourself? The consistent effort and the love you pour into yourself, that is what shapes the future you want. Confidence is something we can create for ourselves through our thoughts, and that confidence drives us to take actions. And the more actions we take, whether it's in our parenting or it's our personal goals, our fitness goals, our career goals, our financial goals, wherever we are taking action, that allows us to leave more of a legacy. And when I'm saying legacy, I don't mean something big and grand that the world's going to see and applaud us for. It's about what we contribute to ourselves, to our children, to our lives, to make the world better. When you look back as a parent, will you be proud of the actions you took? That's the kind of legacy I'm talking about. Do I respect who I was? Can I applaud myself for always trying to learn and grow? Will I look back and say, yeah, I did what I wanted to do? Or will I say, oof, I let that self-doubt hold me back? Self-doubt can keep us from taking action. If you feel like you're not doing enough or not moving forward, take a minute to reflect and ask yourself, is self-doubt the reason? And if it is, what are you making it mean? Self-doubt, again, it does not mean something has gone wrong. It often means you're stretching yourself. As a parent, when you try something new with your child, like setting a boundary from a place of compassion and firmness, trying a new strategy where you're letting your child feel their emotions all the way through, it's normal to feel unsure. That's self-doubt trying to stop you from moving forward. When those doubts show up, what are you going to do? That's the question. Will you decide to not try at all? Will you stop after the third attempt? Or will you recognize that self-doubt is part of growing? Every challenge, you all, that we face as parents in this life invites us to grow. And parenting is such a beautiful experience of growth if we let it be that for us. Whether we're learning to communicate better with our teenagers or we're figuring out how to manage our time with our kids, how to be there for our toddler, how to get sleep because our kids are so little, it's a natural part of evolving and becoming the person and the parent you want to be. The bigger your goals, the more self-doubt is likely to show up. But that's a beautiful thing because it means you're going for it. You're living life full out. When self-doubt comes up, you can face it, acknowledge it, and then move through it. And every time you do, you build self-confidence. This confidence becomes the fuel for the next challenge. You get to take the strategic byproduct of every ounce of effort and energy and move into the next experience with that coming with you. Here's the deal. If you already fully believe that you could do something, you would already have it. The only thing standing between you and your goals is the belief that you can't do it. And that belief is driven by self-doubt. It's always going to be there, trying to hold you back, trying to keep you safe. So our question to ourselves is, am I getting better at overcoming it, letting it go to the back of the bus? Or am I getting better at letting it stop me, letting it take over? We get better at one or the other. There's no middle ground. And I want to encourage you to see the self-doubt for what it is, part of the process of evolving into the parent and person you want to be, fulfilling your potential, living the life that you want to live. It's not a sign to quit. It's a sign you're on the right path. So next time you face self-doubt, I want you to remind yourself how capable you are, how strong you are. And if you can't quite feel that yet, I want you to remind yourself that you're actively working on believing that. You're actively working on overcoming the thoughts that are holding you back. You're not broken, you're growing, and self-doubt is a signal that you're stretching yourself to become the person you're meant to be. So keep going. You are on the right path. All right, you all, that's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for being here today. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to go subscribe, if you haven't already, or leave a review on the podcast app of your choice, that would be so fantastic. Have a great rest of your day. Go connect your face off with your kids. Love you all. Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, come check out my Connect Method Parenting Coaching Program, where we take this material and we apply it using my proven formula. Head over to cmp.works/join.